Let's talk about King's X today. So if you're watching this channel, you're probably A, musician, B, a guitar player, C, you like hard rock and heavy metal. So the inevitable conclusion to that all leads to point D, you should listen to King's X. And if you haven't listened to King's X, let me tell you a little bit about them and how I got into them and basically why I love them so much. So King's X are a power trio, obviously from the USA. I believe the band started somewhere in Missouri as a four-piece and then moved down to Houston in Texas in the 80s. They spent a bunch of time kind of doing the thing and eventually got signed to Megaforce Records when they put out their first album, Out of the Silent Planet, which a lot of people would probably describe as Black Sabbath meets the Beatles. And this is the first album that I heard from King's X. Both my dad and my uncle really loved this band, and when I got into guitar when I was about 14, one of the first albums that my dad gave me is sort of like a, hey, if you want to hear some cool rock music, check this out, was Out of the Silent Planet. And from the stuff I'd been listening to, which was either really bluesy, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Gary Moore, you know, still got the Blues After Hours album, or I was into like 70s hard rock like Sabbath and Deep Purple and Thin Lizzy, Led Zeppelin, all that kind of stuff. It sounded so different to anything I had heard before. Like when you put the first track on that album in the New Age, it's in drop D for starters, which I never even heard of in my life. And it's got this really lovely mix of being really heavy and groovy and visceral with these like angelic harmonies and really lush sounding production. And from there, I went and got Gretchen Goes to Nebraska and Faith, Hope, Love. I hope I said that in the right order, which are their first three albums, which really got me into the band. And they were just a band that I thought everybody knew about. They were kind of on regular rotation, and I learnt to play a bunch of the songs. Probably one of the first bands that I figured out some of their stuff by ear. I remember learning Goldilocks when I was maybe 16 or 17, and yeah, I just thought just another cool rock band, right? And as I got older and started playing in bands and things like that, they really turned into this thing that I bond with other musicians over. You're at a show somewhere, you're playing with another band, you're like, oh man, hey, you guys are a really cool band, blah, 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 blah. What are you into? You mention a bunch of bands and then you say to somebody, oh, I'm really into King's X as well. And they'll either go, who? Or they'll go, oh my god, King's X, best band ever, and they'll know everything about them. So they're a really good band to throw out there if you want to see who your true friends in the music industry are. And for me, they're just one of those bands that I play in a trio, so they're obviously a big inspiration from that kind of standpoint. They've got a huge, big sound. There's only three guys, they all sing, and there's so many sort of cool tricks that I've stolen from King's X over the years. The way their records are produced and the vocal harmonies they use, the distorted bass guitar, which is such a huge part of the sound. Ty Tabor's phrasing, and he's just so tasty, and his amazing chords. He kind of does a similar thing to another one of my favorite players and bands, Alex Lifeson from Rush, where he'll play really interesting harmony on the low strings and then he'll use droning high strings on the guitar to sort of make the guitar sound wider. And they were like a gateway band for me because I was always really into 70s and 80s stuff. I went from the Thin Lizzy thing to Whitesnake and Winger and Def Leppard and all those kind of things. So I really liked melodic music, and I was never really into grunge. Grunge was like a dirty word in my household, but listening to King's X was the gateway to bands like Soundgarden and Alice in Chains for me. Bands who are hugely influential in what I do now. And I believe a member of Pearl Jam once called King's X the Godfathers of Grunge, which totally makes sense. So yeah, for a long time they were just a really cool band. I'd bond over them with my muso buddies, and then I heard the Dogman album and it literally changed my life, changed what I thought rock music should be. Produced by Brendan O'Brien. I still think it's one of the best sounding rock albums ever. Just, whole spectrum, the songs, the sounds, the production. Ty Tabor was using a dual rectifier on it. It's just this massive dynamic wall of sound that they've got happening, and some of my favorite songs of all time are on that album, and really influence how I approach songwriting and how I approach guitar playing. And that album never leaves my car. I listen to it at least once a week. I was really lucky as well. Ragdoll went and toured the States. We've toured the States 5 times. The third time we did it in 2014, we played at the Whiskey A Go-Go with Skid Row. And maybe a month before that, a friend of mine has an online magazine, and he said, hey, I know you're a big King's X fan, I've got to interview Doug for his KXM thing. Do you want to do the interview? And of course I said yes, because, dream come true, speak to one of your favorite musicians and songwriters. And got chatting to him, super cool dude, and I kind of mentioned that I was going to be in LA, and he was like, great, let's catch up. Fast forward a few months, and Cam, the drummer in Ragdoll, and I were like sitting in the hot tub at a hotel, and I'm like, should I send Doug Pinnick an email and see if he wants to catch up? We had a night off before the gig. He's like, just do it, see what happens. And so I sent an email, like immediately he gets back to me, he's like, hey dude, here's my number, let me know where you are, let's hang out. So, send him the address of the hotel, and like 2 hours later, this dude rocks up in a truck, and it's the guy, it's Doug Pinnick, like in the hotel, and I think that's a story for another time, but we ended up hanging out with him, we had dinner at like Universal Studios, we ate ribs, he and Cam got super drunk, he told us like all these amazing stories about just his history as a musician and his life, and he's got such an incredible story. He's the definition of an inspiring, humble dude who, if he wanted to be a total arrogant dick, he'd get a free pass, I think, because he's such an amazing player and songwriter. And he's lived the life, man. He's such a cool dude, and only made me love King's X even more from that experience. And furthermore, he actually came down to our show at the Whiskey the next night, which was like so amazing. So yeah, Doug Pinnick, one of the good guys. And basically, that's why I love King's X so much, let alone getting into the songs. They've got so many amazing songs. Ragdoll, we covered Goldilocks on one tour of the States that we did, and same thing. There were always a handful of musicians in the crowd who would be like, oh my god, I can't believe you guys are playing King's X. They're my favorite band that nobody knows about. So I guess King's X are the definition of the musicians band, and they definitely deserve to be spoken in the same breath of all the amazing bands from the 80s and 90s, and they really, I hope there's a King's X renaissance at some point, because they super deserve it. So go and listen to the Dogman album, go and listen to Gretchen Goes to Nebraska, they're the two classics, and yeah, listen to King's X. They're a great band. And if you like this video and you want to see more of this, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll put up some more stuff. I might even put up some lessons on how to play the songs if you guys are interested. So see you guys around next time.